All right, here we are. This is Jay Brown Yoga Talks podcast. My name is Jay Brown. For anyone who is listening for the first time today, let me welcome you. To all the rest of y'all, what's up? How is everyone doing? Thank you so much for putting some attention here. It's no small thing, and I really appreciate it. If you were listening last week, I was talking about the pressures of life bearing down on me and feeling like a lot of other people in my life were also experiencing some difficulties. And it's amazing how sitting here now exactly a week later, I don't feel that same sense of weight all on my shoulders. And it didn't take that much for it to turn around. There was like a hurdle that I was needing to get over, and I wasn't sure whether I was going to get over it, and an unexpected thing happened that allowed me to get over it. And, you know, there's another hurdle right up ahead that I can see, but at least I just made it over that one, you know, and I've got like a little room to run. You know, that's really so funny that I'm using hurdle analogies right now, because when I was a freshman in high school, I ran track. It's the only time in my life I ever ran track. When I was in middle school and high school, I was a drama kid. But as a freshman in high school, I was required to take a PE class in this one period, 6 period, whatever. I ran track when I was a freshman in high school, and I ran 440 hurdles. And I wasn't terrible, but I wasn't great. And I ran in a bunch of races, but I always came in 4th. So I wasn't last, but I didn't come in the first 3. And in order to earn points towards getting a Letterman jacket, you had to place in the first 3 spots. So I was never actually working towards getting a jacket, and I kind of knew I wasn't going to continue after my freshman year. But at the end of the season, I was running a race, and after like the first half, I was like way out in the lead. Like no one was even near me. And like everybody on the track team and the coaches, they all kind of got up, and it was like, Jay's going to win. Jay's going to win a race. Jay's going to win. And I could feel that. I could feel the energy of everybody like pulling for me. And I was like running, and I literally had one more hurdle to clear. And I completely bailed. I face planted, and everybody passed me. And I got up. I had 2 bloodied knees, and I crossed the finish line in last place in like utter disgrace. Everybody was just like, oh, and I turned away. It was like the worst possible ending, because I had won the race. I only had to clear one more hurdle to win it. And I remember when it happened, I was crushed, but I didn't care that much about track, so I wasn't fully crushed, and I really did take a lesson. It was really clear. I said to myself, I remember, you were thinking about crossing the finish line before you made it over the last hurdle. And I think I've always remembered that in my life. Like, you got to just keep getting over the hurdles, and you can't be attached to that finish line, because the finish line is almost like an arbitrary thing that we sometimes set for ourselves, you know? So I don't know if that means anything to anybody else, but hopefully you're managing to clear some hurdles and, you know, not fall on your face. In any case, it feels really good to not feel so heavy about stuff. I mean, there's plenty to still feel heavy about. It's not like my situation is all that changed. It's just, I'm not fretting about it as much. And more than anything, I'm looking to keep my attention on nurturing the things that are feeling right, that are feeling human and real. And some of that is about getting back to kind of my roots in doing yoga and being a yoga teacher, And looking back over all the time I've spent teaching and really identifying for myself, why do I care about this and why is it still important? And that is very much what I'm talking about today with my guest, Kari Harendorf. Kari and I know each other from way back when, you will hear, and I ran into her at the Berkshire Yoga Festival recently, and it was just like a beautiful reunion. And I was so happy to connect with her again and find out about what she's been doing. And I should also mention that Kari is the inventor of Doga, which is yoga classes where people bring their dogs. And I know what some of you might be thinking when you hear that, but when you listen to the conversation we have about how that came about and what that was, I think, like me, you might end up having a different view of people bringing their dogs to yoga classes. Regardless, it was really wonderful to walk down some memory lanes with Kari and hear what she's doing now too. So great fun to speak with her, and it is my pleasure to be bringing it to you today. Real quick before we get to it, let me mention that I have a new teacher training group starting in October. And for a limited time, you can get an early registration discount of 40% off. So if anybody listening to this has considered doing my training in the past, but it didn't quite work out, now might be the right time to reconsider. For anybody else who's maybe looking for an opportunity to get into some deeper study, maybe you're already a teacher and you'd like to fill in some knowledge gaps and get some new information and reinvigorate your teaching practice, or maybe you're just looking to deepen your own personal practice and you're not even sure if you want to teach or not. Maybe you do, maybe you don't. My program is designed to adapt to your needs rather than you have to fit to it. And as I mentioned, for a limited time, there's an early registration discount for the next group starting in October. So I encourage you to go check that out. Also, if you want to help support me in continuing to do this podcast, I rely completely on listener support. We're not doing any ads. And the way that you would support me in the show and get access to the full-length archives is to become a podcast premium subscriber. For as little as $5 a month, you can really make a huge difference in helping me keep this going. So please consider becoming a podcast premium subscriber. Beyond that, if you want to connect with me in other ways, there's ongoing live classes and a weekly discussion group. There's on-demand videos, all my stuff, teacher training, podcast premium, and the rest can be found at jbrownyoga.com. Okay, we're going to leave it there. I will touch base with you on the other side, but let's go ahead and get into it. Let's listen to this conversation that I had with Kari Harendorf. Hey, Kari.
How are you?
I'm doing okay. How about you?
I'm great. Thank you so much.
Well, it's lovely to be with you. I am already recording. If it's okay with you, I'd like us to consider ourselves having just begun. Would that be okay?
Yeah, that's totally fine, Jay. Thanks for asking.
Of course. Well, Kari, when I saw you at the festival, I was transported to what felt like another lifetime ago.
Yeah, pre-kids for both of us.
But not just that. We can get to that. But before, even beyond the life stages, which is what that points to me, is more like, especially these days on the show and just in my life, like right now, I'm in a little yoga center that I opened 9 months ago. That's probably the exact same size as East Yoga was.
Right.
Because there's a place in my heart for like that time when I taught at your place and what was possible. You just get a storefront, put a sign out front, and it would work for a couple years at least before the rent caught up with you or whatever. We could get to that.
Right.
But in any case, I've I don't know, wanting to kind of get back to something, but you can't because we're in such a different world now. So just seeing you was like, oh my gosh, like a high school reunion feeling almost, you know?
Yeah.
So it's great. How are you today? How was your day today before we talk old times? What about today? How was your day today?
Today was stellar.
That's nice.
Stellar, actually. And I just was talking about you at lunch.
Okay.
So
I hope it was good things and not bad things.
It was. And I said, I said, I'm going to do a podcast. And I said, do you know Jay Brown? And so I just had lunch with Laura Hyman.
Oh, what?
From Lit Yoga.
Oh, wow.
Who has moved up here to the Berkshires.
Wow.
And
see?
So, small world. And she's like, yeah, I think she did your podcast years ago. Or she said, she's been doing her podcast for 6 years.
Yeah, yeah.
And she's like, now everyone has a podcast. I'm like, yeah, I just started one this year. Like I'm one of those people. But Jay's been at it for, I think, was this your 8th year?
No, now I'm coming on 10.
10. I was like, you're one of the OGs,
Wow. Well, that's awesome. Things are coming around again. And that's nice that there was another connection there. What else came up for me is I had someone on just recently who was reminding me of Bhava Yoga Center on 6th Street and Peter Rizzo. Now, does my memory serve me that you taught there before East Yoga or no? Is that right?
Yes. Yes, we taught there together. I think I had the 2:00 Sunday and you had the 4:00 and Peter had the 6:00. That was that was the schedule. Remember his 2.5 hour Sunday night class? That was
right.
Everyone was standing room only.
Yes. And I mentioned the floors with the tiling for the mat spaces.
It was like a kindergarten.
I know.
The different colors, but it was genius the way he did it, because if there was more than 25, you had to turn the mats the other way and put your corner on the red square instead of the blue square. And it worked.
He figured it out. He figured it out. And that's why I knew you. That refreshes my memory because it was the passing of the guards. When I was coming out, you were coming in.
Yes. Yes.
And then at some point you did break off and open East Yoga. And that was on 11th Street, 12th Street, and A?
One more, 13th and B.
13th and B?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yes.
Before anyone really went over to Avenue B. I mean, that was just at the beginning.
I lived on Clinton and Stanton, so I was kind of already over there. But yes, that was East. That was very East.
Yes, that's why. Yeah. And so I opened East because Bhava closed. That was the impetus.
Okay. You opened, and that's why we carried on. A couple of us jumped over.
Diana, me, Chad. Remember Chad?
Yes, I do remember Chad now that you say his name.
Right? He was, wow, a yoga celebrity before there was Instagram.
Is he still around? Do you know of his whereabouts?
I do not, but I'm sure he is. He went and opened Naga with a couple of people.
Okay, that's
years after East opened, but I don't think he was there. I don't know where he moved to or where he went, but that would be a fun search to do.
Fun find, yes. Yeah, I remember Chad.
But I remember seeing you at the festival, and it was just talk about being transported back to time. I was like, Jay, your hair is longer, but that's it. That's the only thing that has changed about you.
Well, you certainly, I remember you exactly as you are now. Same. There's differences, but not really. Like your face and just the vibe, and just, again, we knew each other at a time, and I taught at your place, and then just so much time has passed, and then all of a sudden, like, time swirls back around again, and here we are.
Yeah, you left East to open your place in Williamsburg. Was it Albiasa? Was that the name? That's
correct.
Yeah,
that's correct. That was 2007. So when did East open? Do you remember years?
2004.
2004. That's right. Yeah. So I was there up until probably just before maybe 2006, 2007, I guess. And the other thing that I really remember about you, which is really kind of great, and I know it's like a big part of your work, is, as things have gone on, and there's all these things in yoga, and people will ask me these questions like, do you think goat yoga is just a gimmick or whatever? And most of the time, sometimes I do think it's just a gimmick. But then I have a viewpoint of it that comes from my experience of you, because you started yoga classes with dogs. And under any circumstances, if anyone else had said that to me, I would have been like, oh, really? But I was there. And I remember that dog. Is that dog still with us?
No, Charlie. No, my heart dog. Yeah, Charlie started yoga. I was just a facilitator, really.
I mean, just for anybody listening, okay? Kari was doing yoga classes where did people bring their dogs, or they just came to be with Charlie? No, people brought their dogs with them, right?
People brought their dogs. It was a weekly yoga class. Sunday at 4:00 before my 6:00. So I took the Peter Rizzo Bava model and had a yoga class, which probably was not the best in hindsight, because there was a lot of dog hair in the studio after the 4:00 class, and I only had about a half an hour to clean it up. But I mean, it spawned a lot of media hype, and eventually, I had a television show on Animal Planet with him about that we ended up going around and finding other people in doing amazing niche things with dogs, where there was musical recording or a dog bakery or whatever it was, back in the time, really another lifetime before you lived online, before, your business was out there with everything. And it was, as you said, people would ask you and you'd be like, no, but you saw it. I mean, Charlie, I really opened East so Charlie could come to work with me every day, because I used to bring him to Bava to class and everyone loved having him in class. And when Bava closed, I was like, well, I can't go to Crunch with him and I can't go to Jiva Mukti.
Well, that's the thing. I generally am a lover of dogs, even though I've never had a dog in my life. I've always loved dogs. But Charlie was another level. He was a genuine, people talk about therapy dogs. And if I'm not mistaken, he did some of that work, if I recall. You were mentioning that to me. And I felt it was sort of the dog that he had a certain presence about him, a certain way about him that definitely felt therapeutic to be around him.
He was my doggy.
So when did you know that Charlie had some kind of thing like that? How did Charlie become a therapy dog, or how did that become something that you cared about even?
So Charlie was one of my three dogs at the time. And I had another dog who was bigger than him. And I would go to nursing homes with her. And Charlie.
So how does that happen? How did you end up going to nursing homes with a dog in the first place?
It was something that I was always really interested in terms of, karma yoga and service and giving back to the community. And I had heard about animal assisted therapy, and there was a program through Baidawi where they would certify people with their dogs. And so I went with Rosie, passed the test, and I went with another dog and they passed the test. And then they would just pair you up with, whether it was a nursing home or a hospital or community center, that you would go. And I used to go every week to Cabrini Nursing Home on 5th between A and B. So I can just walk there. And Rosie had the special, tag that she would wear. And it was she would get so proud and go to work, and we would go and visit the residents. And, it was in its purest form, like a form of yoga, a real karma yoga, and making that connection, right? Just like the root of yoga is yuj, to yoke, to bring together. There were people that were nonverbal, and the dog would come in the room and their eyes would light up and they would start wanting to pet the dog and start talking about their dog, these people in their 80s or 90s, and they would talk about their childhood dog. And it was just a way of really connecting heart to heart through the animal.
And Charlie, when did it go from, I guess Charlie passed the test too, right?
Yes, he did. But he just wanted to be with me. And, like you said, people would say, so it was back in the day in 2004, 2005, 2006, when I had my TV show, I would get a lot of media requests, and there would always be the camera guy or the sound guy that would come in, and you could tell that they were like, can't believe I have this assignment. Like they were just like yoga
a
with
girl
dogs.
and her dog doing yoga, really?
Exactly. And then the people would come in, and the dogs, because also the people that would come and do yoga, like Charlie was a big dog. He was, 45, 50 pounds. But the people coming in and doing it would have these little pocket dogs, like a lot of carry them around in the bag, go anywhere in New York City, dress them up. Let's go do a yoga class together. Yeah. So the dogs would be very mixing, hyper. And then they would come to the mat and they would be kind of running around, like you'd have them on the leash. But then they would make smaller and smaller circles. And then the owner would hold them. And then the owner would be down on the ground and we'd start to breathe. And by halfway through the class, like every dog was like,
yeah. See, don't we yoga teachers see that happen to people all the time, don't we? Like halfway through the class, everybody's nervous system settle or something.
Absolutely. And, dogs and people have a symbiotic relationship. Like the simple act of petting a dog lowers your blood pressure, lowers your heart rate for both the dog and the human doing the touch. Right?
Yeah.
So there's that connection. And really, so much of our lives today in our busyness, even if we're walking the dogs, people are making a phone call, listening to a podcast, scrolling on their phone while they're walking. I mean, every time I go to New York City, I'm like, how do you not just get constantly hit by a car or a bus or walk into people? Like everyone's looking down at their phone. They're not looking where they're going, right?
Yeah.
And you're missing this opportunity to be with your dog that you're walking, right? It's mindfulness 101. And so in the class where they would do with the dogs, it's like, you get down on the floor. You're on the level of the dog. The dog would come up to you. It's like, oh, this is me time. It was a real chance to bond and to connect on another level that they necessarily wouldn't have had. And to finish my point, by the end of the class, the cameraman or the sound guy would just be like, I can't believe what I just witnessed. And they would always tell me this, I was like, oh, rolling my eyes, but like, this is amazing. And so,
see, the power of yoga is not just, it transcends into the animal world, but all the animal world, not just humans.
Yes. And so with my history, Jay, you can imagine how many times people send me the goat yoga stuff on Instagram. Like, this is your next one, even though it was 20 years ago.
Yeah.
And I always say, it's been attributed to Swami Satchidananda. It's been attributed to Krishnamacharya, like all these different yoga greats. It was like, truth is one, paths are many. And so many people would come to a yoga class that would never have done yoga.
And, what I really love about it, well, first of all, before I say what I really love about yoga, what I loved about it back then too, but still do now, but I'm still curious to understand when the leap went to like having it be a yoga with a dog class. Like, you've got dogs, you're going to old age homes and doing therapy, a dog animal assisted therapy, I believe is what you called it. You're doing yoga yourself, you're practicing yoga. When does your yoga start? When does yoga become a thing for you? Had you already been doing yoga when you started doing the stuff with the dogs?
So I think I started practicing yoga when I was recovering from a knee surgery. And so that was 1997, right? And so I was then found Bava quickly after finding Peter at Crunch. Like all the Jivamukti teachers also taught at Crunch because I was a gym rat in my life before yoga.
Well, there was Jiva classes at Crunch for a while.
Yeah, totally.
So
totally. I mean, Dana was my first teacher.
Okay.
Betsy, who's like Amala, all of it. Nancy, like all of the hardcore old school Jivamukti teachers. Elena Brower. I mean,
Yes.
And so I was taking class at Crunch, and then I found Bava, and so I started going there. I lived on 8th Street. They were on 6th Street. It was right there, and I just started bringing Charlie to class because I would do a home practice, and every time I'd roll out my mat, he just would get on my mat. And so I was never like, I'm not going to move him. So I would just do yoga around him, step over him, maybe adjust accordingly. And again, it was like I would be down on the ground. The animals would gather. And this is what I would hear again and again. Like, oh, every time I do yoga, my cat just comes over, my dog just comes over.
We all see it in the Zoom classes
Zoom,
now, yes.
Right? From COVID is like, oh, let me love to see the dog. Now,
yes. True.
They just want to be with you.
Yeah.
And so I started taking Charlie to class, and then Peter would be like, we'd be with our legs up the wall or doing a twist, and Charlie would be with his paws up the wall and twisting, and Peter would make a joke and be like, oh, I'm going to give Charlie an adjustment now. And it would just make people happy.
Yeah. And he was just such a chill, cool dog.
He was very chill.
He was the chillest, coolest dog ever. That's why nobody minded. But you know what it makes me think of? Because things did change where like things became more of like spa environments, and there'd be people like who wouldn't want, like you wouldn't want to have dogs allowed, and people stopped burning incense and stuff at a certain point because people would complain and stuff. But back then it was a little down and dirty still, right?
Yeah, well, we also used to just like go play outside and come home when the streetlights went off, like it's those.
That's right. That's right. That's right.
Things.
So
yeah, those people that didn't want the dogs, they didn't come to my studio.
Yeah, that's right. And so it's especially because it was a featured thing. So if you didn't like dogs and you didn't want to be around dog hair, then you didn't go to that one.
Yeah. I mean, it wasn't dirty. I had
I don't remember it being
separate mats for the yoga class.
I don't remember. I taught after you or whatever. I don't remember it being dirty at all. We kept the spaces very well tended. We cared about those spaces. They were like they were like our homes.
They were a real anchor for the community, especially after 9/11 in New York City. Like I remember just going to the yoga studio.
Yeah, that's a good point. I do too. I have a very specific memory of taking the L train to get to Go Yoga, which was in the Girdle Factory at, the next week after it happened, and just standing on the platform, and there was one other person, and just everybody was so shattered. I was shattered and that person was shattered. And we just looked at each other and we just gave each other a hug. No words, just a hug to a complete stranger. I'll never forget it. I was like, wow, the way things bring you together. So having a schedule of classes where you were supposed to go and other people were gathering right then was huge.
Yeah, I mean, I know this is audio only, but I'm tearing up here just hearing that, because again, it just goes back to the same point that we're talking about. It's like yoga is contact, and really that's what's missing.
Yeah,
and it's what we crave as humans.
Yes, I agree.
Which is maybe the impetus. And I know we talked briefly at the Berkshire Yoga Festival, but you were just recently opened your studio again. And
exactly. I'm not the only one. It's people trying things, whatever. Andrew starting the festival, even just people doing things that mean we're going to kind of get back to some of the things that we were doing maybe, or that we did in the past that worked really good. And it still kind of remains to be seen whether they're going to work now. I've been talking about this, there's less yoga specific centers now. A lot of times they're much more boutique fitness with lots of other things in there. Even though the yoga is really good, that's still, but the models changed a lot. You certainly don't have little independent players like you and me just opening up little spots and having a run for 5 to 10 years, So when you opened up East Yoga, did you have it in mind that you were going to start this separate class where other people would bring their dogs too? Or had you already started doing classes like that before East Yoga?
No, I started with East, and it was well, this is my studio. I can do what I want.
Yes. That was the whole point of opening one, right?
I mean, a little bit. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, the yoga was really great. I had the best teachers, right? Case in point. And I was a new teacher at that point. I'd only been teaching for 3 years at that point. I just,
but you had, like you said, Bava closed, and we had a spot there, and then we had another spot that we could all gather at. So, and you were the same kind of owner. Mm-hmm. And I mean that in the sense that I often tell a story about Lilia Mead, who was the owner of Go Yoga, and how at a certain point, like, I changed what I was doing in my practice quite a bit. And like people complained to her. And then when she brought me into like her office to talk with her about it, I explained why I was doing it. And she totally supported me and like came and tried it. You know what I mean? Like it was like a different thing where the people who were opening the centers were just teachers who were giving you a place to teach. And it didn't feel like later when we had more corporate offices or HR departments, or like when Yoga Works came in and bought up all the little centers or whatever, you know?
Right.
How long did you have East Yoga?
So I opened in 2004. And then in 2009, my third child was born. And then 2010, I was like, I really can't do this back and forth. We were living in the Hamptons during the week.
So you did two 5-year leases? Is that the deal?
Yeah. But then I brought on a partner, Katie, and then because I was going to close, I was thinking about closing, and then I got pregnant again, and then I took on a partner, and she kept it going even after I like really left, which was like end of 2010, maybe beginning of 2011, and then she kept it going. Hurricane Sandy came in and flooded all the way to Avenue B. Right. I don't know if you were still in New York at that point or not, but that was 2011.
Yeah, I was in Brooklyn.
Yeah.
I remember when it happened. My brother-in-law had a place in Red Hook that got flooded out too. Yeah.
So everything flooded in the basement, and the landlord was like typical New York City landlord. And so everything was not kind of code, and the studio burned down.
Oh.
From the flood, there was an electrical fire.
Wow.
And I was getting all these, messages and stuff. And Katie reopened down near 6th Street. So even closer to the original Bava, and then had that for another 4 years, maybe, I think. So as far as New York City's boutique studios go, we had a long run. I think we were open for 10 or 11 years.
Yeah. Again, that's like that particular time that you're pointing to, even just before I left, was such a golden time. I had that apartment down on Clinton and Stanton for $400 a month for like the better part of 10 years. So you could be an artist or a yoga teacher and like not need to make a lot of money, and you could live there.
You could live there.
And
now you need 5 roommates.
And the centers were like part of the culture, part of the bohemian East New York culture,
For sure. Like the original Jiva Mukti with like the beaded curtains, and you'd walk up the stairs and it smelled like cat pee, and it was, great.
And Nag Shampa, yes.
To cover up the cat pee.
Exactly. Yes. It's so funny that you say that, because this new center that I have, it's a super old building. So it has a little bit of like a kind of stinky smell that can come up from the basement sometimes. And I'm always lighting Nag Shampa to cover it up. It's the same thing. But there's something so, the reason why we're still doing it and care about it all these years later, because of those formative experiences, like those yoga classes and something that happened in us while we were going to those classes shaped us in pretty profound ways, wouldn't you say?
Absolutely. And you've been at this a long time. You've seen the healing, right? You've felt it in yourself, and you've witnessed it countless of times. Like you had said, even in a group class, you can see the downregulation.
Right.
You can see the antidote for the modern chaos that is our lifestyle right now.
Yeah, let's put a pin in that one. Let's come back to that. Yeah. I also remember, this is my memory, that you at one point, I don't know if this was after you kind of left and you said 2010-ish or whatever. I remember you having gigs working at Kripalu. I remember you doing stuff with Rodney and Colleen, right?
Yeah.
That would happen because you spend time in the Berkshires. Is that the other place that you go to?
So from the East Village, we went to Brooklyn. So I had East. Yeah. And then we moved to the Hamptons. So I was commuting back and forth. And so I've geographically been blessed because I moved to the Hamptons right when Colleen and Rodney got together. So Rodney moved from California to the Hamptons. And then, so I started teaching at Colleen, who's a dear friend of mine, her studio, and then started getting involved after teaching for 10 years, felt like I had something to say or had something to offer people wanting to become yoga teachers. And so I started teaching in their program and started mentoring the mentors in their program. And and then one day I was like, Rodney, the anatomy, the people you're bringing in for anatomy are not yoga teachers. So they're not teaching the anatomy to yoga teachers. It was not, it was too medical. And he was like, well, okay, you're going to teach it. And I was like, no, that was not why I was, I just didn't know what I meant. And so that's really, because it's how I'm so interested in how things work, right? Like the owner's manual, right? Like, which is really what we're teaching people, how to move, like how to breathe, how to be in communion with yourself, how to be in your center so you can really find your circumference, right? And so I developed the anatomy for the yoga teacher training for their, 200 and 300 hour. And when my family, we moved up here in 2013, he connected me to Kripalu and was like, you need to hire this person. Like,
cool.
She's great. So that's when I started teaching in their teacher training and then went through their yoga therapy program and then started teaching in their yoga therapy program. And
yeah, that really tracks with my experience too, that we got in at a certain time in the wave, right? And so that at a latter part around 2013, 2016 in there, we were more senior teachers by that time or whatever. And we were more in a position and people were really wanting teacher training. Teacher training was kind of booming in certain ways, I would say. And then, so what did we do? We all stepped up, right? We learned more. You got yoga therapy certification too, right? Like we also, I think, wanted to take that on in an authentic, real way and educated ourselves more, maybe in ways that some of our teachers didn't as much. Like our teachers, I'm always saying, went to India and met the masters and then came back and put their pictures on the altars. And we were in those classes, but then we didn't do this. We didn't go there and meet them. And then all the stuff happened. We saw what happens with what happened with a lot of the gurus. And then
the guru culture. Yeah. What happened?
So one of the things that teachers did, which I see in what it seems like you did, is we really educated ourselves more and saw gaps or whatever, like you're saying, in terms of like the way people were being trained or what they were learning and whether or not it was like practical or useful as a yoga teacher. What was your experience of working at Kripalu? I had like someone there who was like in the programming department who championed me for a time, who just like for whatever reason liked me and like got me a program like a couple years in a row, maybe 3-4 years in a row even. But I never got enough people. Like I got some, like the mark would be 20 and I would have 15, like I was never quite getting enough people in. And then at some point, it seemed like they kind of switched it and started doing everything more in-house. Maybe when Lipsius came, I don't know. What time were you there and who were the people that you were interacting with?
Yeah, so David Lipsius was already CEO when I came. And he's married to a dear friend of mine who I met through Kripalu, Larissa Hall Carlson, who was the dean of Ayurveda when I came. And then her and David together, and they got married. They've been married for a while. He was amazing. But Kripalu, I think that anytime that there is an ashram model that then goes to a for-profit model, you kind of have two different camps, and there's a lot of old culture and ways of doing it. And I think that has been a bit of a struggle for them. Like I know because I came in through the schools and then through the R&R. So Kripalu is like many different under the umbrella of Kripalu. There's the luminary department, which is bringing in Sean Korn, bringing in you, bringing in Elena Brower, Rodney and Colleen to do their own programming, right? For a weekend or a 5-day, teachers from all over. And then there's the schools, which now are like 4 different schools. They have the yoga school, they have the Ayurveda school, they have the mindful outdoor leadership school, and they have the yoga therapy school. So that's like a whole other standalone thing.
Training. It all became training.
Yeah. And I mean, they used to have like, 60 people in each of these trainings. And I think they're still trying to get back to it from COVID and figure out the like hybrid model in-house and also online and how to cast a wider net. And then they have the R&R, which is you can just come and go and take their in-house teachers of locals, right? Which I taught there through that program for years. I would teach, a couple classes on a Wednesday or whatever. It's a lot of different things, but in terms of like changing things, no matter who they bring in, it's like steering a cruise ship, trying to get a cruise ship to turn.
Yeah, I mean, that's a pretty hard transition from the ashram to the wellness retreat place or whatever. I mean, I still had great experiences going to Kripalu, also at Omega. I don't know if you ever did Omega, but those places really did serve a pretty cool purpose. And I know
it's life-changing for people that go there. It's amazing. And really to have a place where it's beautiful, you can completely unplug, unwind. You have the lake, you have the mountains, you have the hiking, you have organic food.
I was just going to say, I always make a joke. It's amazing how much salad I eat when I don't have to cut the vegetables.
It's a lot of prep work to be a vegetarian. Yes. A lot of prep work. Yeah. And it's just laid out for you like a buffet, right?
Yeah.
No, I love Kripalu and I've met incredible people there. But they're doing a lot of different things.
Okay. So what are you doing in the latter part up until the world fell apart? Like, cause I know that for me, I closed Abhyasa in 2017 because I did 2 5-year leases and that I couldn't hold out anymore. Moto had opened up down the street.
I mean, exactly. What,
There was no way. And my landlord, he liked me. He was cool. He wanted me to stay, but like the per square foot, at the end of the lease would go up 30% or something. And you just couldn't keep pace. And honestly, I would say like that last few years was super struggle, So I left. And at that time, by the time I had already been doing the podcast and I had all this travel opportunities. So I kind of got on like the international teacher trainer workshop circuit.
Amazing.
Until the world fell apart. What was going on for you? You had a couple kids. So were you just holding it down up and teaching at places like Kripalu or in the Hamptons when the pandemic happened, or what was going on with you when that all?
We were up here full time in the Berkshires, right in the Berkshires, Massachusetts, and I was teaching in the yoga therapy school at Kripalu. They had different modules, like 1,000-hour program, and I was teaching in the medical module. So 65 people from literally a lot of people from Europe, and it was the Thursday, March 12th, maybe, right? And the head of the schools comes in, is my day. I'm leading the whole day on Thursday. So it was like a Sunday to a Sunday program. My day is women's health. I was like, oh, wow, you give the women a whole day. So I was literally teaching from like menarche to menopause and how to deal with, yoga therapy with all these different women's issues. And they came in halfway through my day and they say, Kripalu is closing today.
Wow. In the middle of
Everyone
the day.
Everyone is going home. They will let the yoga therapy program finish until Sunday. But all the R&R people were being sent home. Everything else was being sent home. And it was chaos.
Wow.
Like chaos, because all these Europeans were like scrambling to call to get a flight out, worried they were going to be stuck. I mean,
Yeah.
We're 5 years later, but you remember back to that time. Like it was like, I was in the middle of panic and I was just like, constructive rest, exhale, pause. Like,
yeah.
We're talking about tools for just such a thing, right? When the world falls apart, right? It was a lot. And then I taught my final class at a local yoga studio. I was teaching every Sunday morning. I taught the last class that was there. That was March 15th. And then Tuesday, I was teaching Sunday, Tuesday, Thursday at this local studio. So the Tuesday, I was like, hey, there's this thing called Zoom.
Well, that's what I was going to ask you. Had you already been doing like online stuff before that? Yeah.
Not at all. It was a very steep learning curve. In fact, we used to record, right? You could record the Zooms. So there's literally recordings of me being like, I'm in my laundry room because I'm just trying to log on before I go into my home yoga studio. And I was like, is this on? Like, am I going to know if anybody's here? Like, I was thinking to myself. And then the first person popped up because I didn't know about having a waiting room. So when they logged on, they were just there. And I was like, oh, it worked. Hi, Stephanie. Yeah. Hi, Rona. And it's like, I put them down on a chair and I taught a class, Didn't know about spotlighting myself, didn't know about muting people. Like it was the amateur hour, which was hilarious. But by my birthday, which was like 6 weeks later in May, I was my 50th birthday and I was supposed to be going to Paris and leading a teacher training in Paris, in Germany, and then going to Paris. Totally got, I had a tiara that said, birthday queen to my online community, but I had it down by then. By then I was a Zoom queen, and it's like 5 years later, I'm still teaching online. So, it's as my teacher says, never waste a good crisis.
Well,
so yes, I started an online yoga business, and here we are.
I knew that's where it was going to go because one of the things, first of all, I had a business partner in 2016 who told me I should start live streaming my classes from the center. And I fought him and he said, listen, if you don't do this, when you close the center, all these people who connected with you won't have a way to connect with you. But if you do this, you'll have subscribers and then you can just do them from your living room. He was super right about that. Yeah. I fought him on it. I did. Initially, it was all like one way on YouTube live streaming. So I couldn't see them at all. I would know if they were there, but I would just put it in the back of the room while I was teaching my classes. But eventually we did switch over to Zoom. And I remember when the pandemic hit and everybody had to jump on, at a certain point, you did get to recognize, like if you did get it together, like if you dialed in your tech and you had a decent mic finally, and you figured out that you can't have the window right behind you because your face is dark, and we all kind of learned like some basic production stuff, right? Once you got it dialed in, you did realize like, oh, actually, I had real yoga with people. Like I was skeptical initially about doing online yoga with people, but when we needed spaces, like you said, like after 9/11, well, when we needed spaces and nobody was allowed to leave their house, right, we still had yoga via Zoom, and we're still doing it now to this day because it is still possible. I've had yoga and made friendships with people in other sides of the planet, Yeah.
I mean, I teach a 9 a.m. class Tuesday, Thursday, and Sunday, and I have California all the way to Switzerland and Germany, logging on. It's an amazing global community. And it's a real Sangha. And the two-way, that's the whole thing. Actually, they finally integrated it into the platform that I'm using, but we just have to go to a workaround. And that was, you're still getting real feedback as if I'm in the room with you.
Yeah.
Otherwise, just do a yoga on YouTube, because if you're not getting that education, you don't know if you're dumping into your, shoulder and not using your ankle, not anchoring the back leg, and then you're not going to get the length of the spine. Like that's, people like, how can you see all this in these tiny boxes? It's like, I've been doing it for a really long time.
That's true. And I would say, while there's some things that you can't get via Zoom, like certain non-verbal, setting aside hands-on things, but even just like, I don't know, sort of subtle interpersonal exchanges and certain something that happens in the room that I've noticing, especially in the last 9 months since I opened this place. And I do hybrid class where I have people from like you say, all over too. But yes, not only that, like you can get feedback and sort of see, oh, hey, maybe you try your feet a little wider apart. You could definitely see that. But also, it made it so I didn't have to demonstrate everything, which was really huge. Because I think when it was one way, I felt like it was just me on camera having to demonstrate everything. But
which is not how we taught.
No.
For 20 years before.
And we did for a while until our bodies couldn't take it anymore.
That was like the whole California to have like the model, the teacher was modeling the poses. Right. And at Kripalu, they do that too. And I was like, I've never taken a class I've taught. I'm working the room. I'm walking around,
If you are hearing this message, then you're listening to the free version of J. Brown Yoga Talks. To hear the rest of our conversation, please subscribe to Podcast Premium at jbrownyoga.com/premium.